The average cost per night of caring for a single migrant household, known as the per diem rate, stands at $388.
What motivated you to come here thinking the streets are paved with gold? They're not.
We demand help in Brooklyn and Queens.
There is an issue with the food where culturally my kids refuse to eat it because they don't know it.
Black immigrants are disproportionately subject to immigration detention near the U.S.-Mexico border before traveling to New York City, and many hail from countries that lack temporary protected status designations. And as a result, they require intensive immigration legal services involving full legal representation. Many Muslim newcomers have raised concerns about cultural competency in the migrant shelter system, from the demand for halal food to the incompatibility of congregate settings with their faith practice.
This is nothing new for a city like New York. The city has done a great deal in responding to this influx, yet resource allocation could be more equitable than it is now, particularly for Black migrants coming from Caribbean and African countries. We want to make sure we lift up Sudan, Congo, and Haiti in particular, that is often left out of the news, as well as many other nations in Africa. Black migrants and Caribbean. Black migrants have shared their experiences facing racism and anti-Blackness within a system that historically deports, detains, and confines Black migrants at a higher rate than any other racial or ethnic group.
My name is Adam Abba, and I'm the Executive Director of Africana. Africana is a nonprofit organization supporting Harlem and Bronx communities and recent migrants to New York City. We specifically focus on Black and Arab communities who face significant barriers to accessing services, including but not limited to legal, workforce, and benefit assistance. I'm here today to ask City Council to increase their efforts to hold the Mayor's office accountable to for Black migrants, by ensuring that our upcoming city budget reflects that equitable resources and services are provided to organizations that serve Black migrants. Develop and implement sustainable workforce training programs, collaborate with Black-led immigration rights organizations for language access, advocate for work authorization for all migrants, and address the inequities in health well-being of Black migrant women, children, and families, especially in maternal health care. Black migrants are faced with compound discrimination due to stereotypes attributed to them because of their documentation status and their identity. Black migrants have reported verbal and physical abuse due to the color of their skin. Racism begins at the border for them, and unfortunately, I have witnessed firsthand in the city's response, anti-Black racism is continued in New York City. It starts with beginning access to shelter. Churchill reported just over 2 months ago, New York focused that Black migrants received the highest second share highest of notice to vacate shelter. Secondly, the city has failed to provide adequate language interpretation or translation, which is critical for Black migrants to navigate services, communicate with support staff, and understand the notices given to them regarding their shelter. Please know that Google Translate and Language Line is never sufficient and is not acceptable. The city should hire native speakers of most spoken languages among Black migrants to provide adequate language interpretation and translation service.
Black migrants need more help and assistance. Our organizations, my organization, is willing to do that work, but we cannot do it. But we cannot do it without the proper funding and with people who support us. We also find it really hard to work in an environment where Black migrants are often ostracized and demonized. This must stop. Language matters. As a Black immigrant myself from the country of Jamaica, it is really, really important that some of what I experienced, some of what my family experienced, and some of what we see even now not be duplicated. The people outside are here in their numbers by the thousands, and they are here to show you that they belong and that they are here and that they should not be erased. Please listen to them.
Matata ezali awa ebele. Bima, New York City. Bako tiayo maboko awate. Traduction, because nobody speaks my language here, obviously. Here, there's a lot of trouble in this city. You need to leave New York City. They will not help you. I spoke in Lingala to my Congolese brother. He was stuck at Stockton in Brooklyn, with no one to understand him and no way to get an ID or case management. Now he's in Maine, safe, working, and part of a community. Africa has 54 countries. There are around 3,000 languages spoken on the continent. Black Africans are not slaves, but have been unfree due to the colonial and capitalist exploitation. Our lives are sacrificed for the rest of the developed world. We demand help in Brooklyn and Queens. We have donated time and money to African mothers, expecting organizing clothing drive, transportation, and food for medical service as mutual aid. We have translated for health or death medical procedure. We couldn't afford necessary antibiotics in a city like New York. So one of our members had to buy antibiotics in Colombia to help our brother who suffered from a third burn degree.
Je demande quelque chose parce qu'on a vécu au hôtel, il n'y a pas frigo, il n'y a pas micro-net. Nous-mêmes, on est fatigués. Il y a 3 mes enfants, on ne peut pas vivre bien, quoi.
I'm staying in a hotel shelter with 3 of my kids, and we don't even have the means to cook, and our life in the shelter is very difficult.
Et puis, de manger là, mes enfants ne pas connaissent bien.
There is an issue with the food where culturally my kids refuse to eat it because they don't know it.
Si on peut manger, on garde, il n'y a pas de garder.
If we eat and we don't finish it, we don't even have a fridge where we can keep the rest of the food, so we're wasting the food that we have.
Si mes enfants sont partis à l'école, s'il n'a pas mangé, il va tomber malade.
When my kids go to school hungry, then they get sick and they cannot perform.
Si on est là, on ne peut pas travailler, donc il n'y a pas de papier de travail, nous sommes à la maison comme ça.
We here, we can't work, we don't speak the language, we don't have access to work, and we're just sitting here wasting.
Oh, me too, I live at the shelter with my kids.
Can I ask you to speak louder and into the microphone?
Yes, me too, I stayed at the shelter with my kids. I am with my 2 kids and a sister of mine. But at the shelter, the food, my kids cannot eat the food at the shelter. And on Ramadan time, we couldn't eat because when you come back for the breaks, the food is no good at all. And they give us 2 months to stay at the shelter, and then you have to go out again with your luggages and the kids and find another place. It's very difficult.
This has been quite a moving testimony I've listened to today. It's disturbing in a great many ways. It's disturbing when I see human beings not treated properly. Prejudice and racism, those words have become watered down. They're used much, much too often. But I'd like to say this. In listening to everybody speak and making demands on New York City to do more, how much more are we supposed to do? How much more are we capable of doing? This system is so overworked and overburdened. We don't have the resources that you need to get what you need. I mean, your testimonies move me tremendously. I don't want to see anybody mistreated in any sort of way, But I have to ask you, what motivated you to come here thinking the streets are paved with gold? They're not. They're absolutely not. And you're living through that. Now, we've watched many different people come across this border. The people who have come across this border have come across this border illegally.
Councilmember Palladino,
Yes.
do you have a question for the panel?
I do.
Because we have to move on. Everyone, we asked a quorum in the chamber. Now, Councilmember Palladino, if you have a question, please present it. If not, we will move on to the next council member.
Kujichagulia.